Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we decode what is really going on in the world of business. And today we're looking at Nexstar Media Group's latest filing, which has a bit of a surprise twist that is going to affect a lot of people's favorite shows and news. So what is this filing all about? It is what is called a Form 8. And for companies like Nexstar Media Group Incorporated, this usually means something pretty important just happened. Think of it like the company's way of sending out a press release to the stock market, letting everyone know about a big development. And in this case, the big development involves a massive deal to buy another company called TEGNA Incorporated. We're talking about a deal that could shape the future of local news and media for a huge chunk of the country. If you watch local news or even national news that relies on local affiliates, this is something you'll want to pay attention to. Before we dive in, make sure you are subscribed and the notification bell is on so you don't miss any of our future deep dives. Also, join our Discord community linked in the description below, where we discuss these filings and more. This report was filed on the 31st of October, but the earliest big event it talks about happened the day before, on the 30th of October. This is when Nexstar Media Group Incorporated, or NXST as it is traded on the stock market, and its little subsidiary had a significant interaction with the US Department of Justice. Nexstar is a big player in the media world, owning tons of local television stations across the country. They're known for the local news you see every night in many cities through their various channels. They are a pretty established company based in Irving, Texas, and their main business is broadcasting and reaching audiences. And to give you an idea of how big they are, their common stock is traded on the Nasdaq Global Select Market under the ticker symbol NXST. This means millions of shares are bought and sold every day by investors. Now, let's get to the juicy part. This filing is all about a major acquisition. Back on the 18th of August, Nexstar announced a deal to buy TEGNA Incorporated. If you don't know TEGNA, they're another giant in the local television station business. Imagine two massive companies in the same space deciding to join forces. This merger, if it goes through, would mean Nexstar would be even bigger, controlling even more stations. This is the key piece of news from this specific filing. On the 30th of October, both Nexstar and TEGNA got what is called a second request from the US Department of Justice, or DOJ, which is essentially the government's antitrust watchdog. When the DOJ issues a second request, it means they're seriously scrutinizing this merger. They want way more information to figure out if this deal would be bad for competition. What this means in plain English is that the government is putting the brakes on the deal. The Hart-Scott-Rodino Act, or HSR Act, is a law that requires companies to notify the government about big mergers, and then there is a waiting period. When the DOJ asks for more information with a second request, it automatically extends that waiting period. They'll keep digging until they're satisfied that the merger won't harm competition. This is a pretty common step for large deals, but it definitely adds uncertainty and can delay the closing. So what is the time frame now? Nexstar and TEGNA are now saying they expect this deal to be completed sometime in the second half of next year, 2026. That is a pretty significant delay from when deals like this might normally close. It shows that the DOJ's review is going to take time. Ultimately, for this merger to happen, Nexstar needs approval from the DOJ and other regulatory bodies. If they don't get that approval, or if the conditions they set are too tough for Nexstar to meet, the deal could fall apart. This is a pretty standard risk involved in any big merger talk. Now, the company is also including what they call a cautionary statement regarding forward-looking statements. This is a legal disclaimer they have to put in these reports. Basically, they're saying that when they talk about future events, like when this merger might close, or if it will close at all, these are just their best guesses based on what they know now. Things can change, and they aren't promising anything will happen exactly as they predict. They're covered by a law called the Private Securities Litigation Reform Act of 1995, which gives them some protection if their predictions don't come true. And finally, the report is signed off by someone important, Leanne Gliha, who is the Chief Financial Officer of Nexstar. This confirms the company is officially submitting this information. Now, looking at this filing, the biggest takeaway is the significant antitrust review by the DOJ. This isn't just a formality. A second request means the government has real concerns about this merger potentially creating too much market power for Nexstar. If Nexstar ends up owning a huge number of television stations, they could potentially have more say in advertising prices, content distribution, and even how news is presented in many markets without much competition. That is a big deal for consumers and advertisers alike. The delay to 2026 is also noteworthy, suggesting this review will be thorough. What is interesting is that there are no financial tables in this particular 8K, which usually focus on significant events rather than regular financial updates. But the implications of this merger are financially massive for Nexstar. They are essentially betting a huge amount of capital on consolidating the local media landscape. The risk here is that antitrust regulators could block the deal or impose conditions so severe that the value of the acquisition dwindles. On the flip side, if they get approval, Nexstar could become an even dominant force, potentially increasing their leverage and profitability in the long run. The biggest risk highlighted is simply not getting the necessary approvals or facing crippling conditions. It is a high-stakes gamble that will play out over the next year and a half, it seems. Alright, that is our breakdown of Nexstar Media Group's latest filing. What is your take on this massive media merger and the government's involvement? Do you think it is good for consumers to have fewer big media owners, or does it stifle local news? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If this analysis was valuable, hitting that like button really helps us out, and be sure to subscribe for more in-depth corporate dives that break down what you need to know. And don't forget to check out the Discord community in the description for more discussions and insights. Thanks for watching. See you next time.